Mbeta italia katika anga.
Like this. That is how the trumpet will sound.
Iko Nini. So kama kuna story nimekuwa nikifuatilia after ku have done Kanchege here on Monday, nimekuwa nikifuatilia sana hii story ya Russia and what's happening in Russia. And one of the things that's starting to come out is the government was fully involved na hii story yote. Like on Monday nili up niki post like a question that I ended up asking umsanaitwa Alfred Mutua. Because why? Kuna someone who shared with me a post ya Alfred Mutua ya 26th of June 2025. Ilikuwa the first group of Kenyan workers arrived safely in Russia and were warmly received by Kenya's ambassador to Russia, Ambassador Peter Mathuki. A proud moment as they begin a new chapter to build their future, make their dreams come true and uplift their families. Then ikakuwa Kazi Majuu, then unacheki kuna wasee kadhaa hapa. So me in the process, like when I saw this, what did I do? Because kwa nimeona hii photo before, nikauliza how many of them are still alive? Ayo, Dr. Alfred Mutua. Of course he's not replied. Alafu nikachekiata hapo chini ya Gloria Uroba aliandika Alfred Mutua belongs in committee. He has openly aided human trafficking by omission. When rogue agents like Festus Omwamba felt safe and protected by him and this killer regime. It must be dealt with come 2027. Then ikakuwa Roy Mackenzie, nikauliza like how many of them are alive. Roy Mackenzie anasema that this guy ule iko hapa ilikuwa ni a Kenyan family is appealing for help in tracing Erastus Mundia who traveled to Russia for work after previously serving as a soldier. Ikakuwa the family reports that they later received information indicating that Mundia died on 29th December last year. However, they've not received any official confirmation, documentation, or his body, leaving his family whereabouts and status unclear. Leaving his whereabouts and status unclear. Then according to the family, communication with Erastus Mundia stopped and all attempts to verify the information provided to them have so far been unsuccessful. Then they are now appealing to anyone with credible information regarding Erastus Mundia's status or location to come forward and assist the family. Then name ni Erastus Mundia, passport number ikaekwa hapo, age ikaekwa, then kwa anyone with information is requested to contact the family. Kuna jina ya madhake hapo. Then kasema the family say they want him dead or alive and plead with the public to share this appeal widely. So, now let's go back to his story yote. His story, kuna vile the Washington Post walifanya like an article on this, and the article basically suggested that what we are dealing with is human trafficking, and it's not just human trafficking. We are dealing with human trafficking that's being aided by the government. Why? Because you have agencies who are literally get wase under false pretense. Wanaambia wanaenda kufanya jobs zingine kama za security guard, then when they go there, jobs za kuwa drivers, jobs za kuwa waiters, and when they go there, they are taken to camps and then they are taught. And this is where kuna time ingine mufi like I need to talk to people. Like we need to use the internet more. Anyone who can convince you, because kumekuwa na hizi stories, like when you follow these stories, you see like people are being convinced that they'll go to Russia and earn 300,000 shillings. The average salary in Russia, in Kenyan shillings, is 120,000 shillings. You're a black man from Kenya. There is no way you're going to be paid more than a white man in Russia. That's not going to happen. Don't lie to yourself. But sasa, back to the Washington Post. Kenyan job seekers were lured to Russia, then sent to die in Ukraine. Then the Post spoke to 4 Kenyans who fought in Ukraine, that is, and relatives of 9 other recruits as a secret pipeline funnels young Africans to Russia's military. Then ilikuwa article done by Rael Ombur and Catherine Hureld. So these are very it's such a well done article, and they did a lot of interviews with a lot of people who are involved in this story. And what you're going to feel is you're going to just feel sad. Just reading this, you'll feel sad because you understand why people went. And people are desperate. And apart from desperation, these people trust their government. So their government tells them that, you know what, there are all these job opportunities in Russia. And unapata ani wase, maybe msee hajai toka Kenya. Alafu from TV amekuwa kiona like kuna kuna hiyo tension between Russia na US. So wanasema kama Russia na US zinaweza kuwa na tension na wase uendaga US then wana make it, basi inaweza enda Russia na ni make it, and people end up taking these things. And for you to know that this thing ni what is it called, like iko na a lot of human trafficking. Inasemekana kuna waswali kuwa recruited from maocha, like hizi maocha za mabusia, msana patikana kwa farm, hajaifanya chochote, but the fact that yuko na passport inakuwa facilitated haraka, anafika Russia, training kidogo, gun, frontline, anadedishwa, body inaachwa pale iliachwa. So kuna a few people wale nimesoma kwa hii article ya Washington Post, kulikuwa na msee fulani anaitwa Oscar Kagola Mtoka. Alafu Oscar Kagola alikuwa like yeye mwenyewe alikuwa na some military experience, then leave the country. This is in April last year, but alikuwa nafikiria anaenda kuwa security guard. Then what ended up happening, the last time this family yake ilisikia from Oscar was in June, and afterwards walipata a text from his phone, na text yenyewe ilikuwa in Russian, lakini the commander alikuwa anasema that alidedishwa in August. Kumbuka? So alitoka in April, then in June that was the last time they heard from him. Then in August they are told that amededi. Then vile walisema amededi, wakasema like tafadhali, at least since aliserve kwa military yenyu, you give us the body. Then this is what they were told. They were told that body iko in a morgue in Rostov, and if they want the body they should pay for transportation themselves. So hii ni a very good example for wasa wale unakompareaga kujoin the American military na the UK military. This nonsense would not happen. Najua, do I advocate for people joining those? No. But is it also a fact that the Kenyans wale wameserve kwa hizo military are more well treated than this? Yes, that's a fact. It's a fact. It might hurt your feelings because unataka kuwa cool. And tukitoka kwa hiyo kuna uboy moja, uboy ndiye alikuwa akitrend, anaitwa Clinton Nyapara Mogesa. Yeye alikuwa 29. Alafu Mogesa alileave Kenya in 2024 akaenda kuwa Qatar. Alafu vile alikuwa huko akakuwa recruited with promises of better pay in Russia. And one thing that sema ni kwa ase wote, and mupenda kujichocha, but if you are that person who's ever come across Iko Nini, you watch for some time. If you ever find yourself in Russia and you are escaping a drone, utasikia ile voice ya Mwafrika ikikwambia Iko Nini, because I told you, because nimekuwa nikiscream juu ya Russia since last year May. That's how much noise I've been making. Kuna watu wengi sana hapa walienda baadaye. Then ikakuwa the tragic end. His family was in communication during his 3-week training. Then he was recently confirmed killed on the front line in early 2026. His brother Joel Mogere amekuwa vocal about the family's shock, highlighting how these pipelines move people through third countries like Qatar to obscure the trail. So that's another thing. So boy inazataka kujua did he work in Qatar? Because kuna pali nasikia ni kama quit his job in Qatar ndio baki ameenda Russia. I keep saying this, don't go to Russia. Another story ilikuwa ni msee anaitwa Duncan Otieno Joma. Huyu alikuwa military veteran wa 14 years. Alafu yeye mwenyewe pia I think unajua watu wakirecruitiwa I think wanadanganywa mnaenda kufight na wase, but what you are going to fight with is with drones. And umechiki history ya drones, it's been very consistent with everyone. Duncan Chege told us about drones. If you read this article ya Washington Post, it's all about drones. Duncan Chege was not interviewed by the Washington Post, but it's all about drones. Nachiki, I'm trying to get some of the survivors, some of the few people who've been able to make it back to Kenya. Wale nimesoma kwa hii article walikuwa na wako wounded and what, I'm trying to get like some of them and just have a whole conversation on this whole drones thing, because we joke, si tunajua woni hivi unashika gun ula unashika gun, but don't forget you say they were not even soldiers apart from say kama Duncan Otieno Juma. Alafu hii Duncan Otieno, it's so sad. Why? Because this is what happened after being wounded. So he was immediately wounded upon arrival in July by a Ukrainian drone attack that killed another Kenyan next to him. So Duncan akaumizwa. Alafu after umizwe, his wife hakuwa amesikia from here since August. So akaamua ku reach out to the recruitment agency hapa Kenya. And do you know what they asked her? This is after lying to that family that was going there to work like a civilian job. Then akaenda kwa military. when the wife asked like bwanangu, what happened to bwanangu, walimwambia how much are you willing to pay us ndio tupatie the information. Yes, so hiyo ni Duncan Juma. Then kuna msee fulani ulibaki amerudi, huyu na try kuonekana tampata, alikuwa interviewed na hii Washington Post. Yeye ni the only one ule imesemekana at least aliweza kutoka na do. So somehow alienda hapa akiumia. So vile aliumia akaamua kuhepa. So alikuwa na try kuhepa China, not Russia. Then akiwa kwa hosi, kitu kamwambia hii ATM niko nayo, let me try and see if it can work. And he was actually able to withdraw $5,000 and somehow akaweza kuflee the country akajipata Kenya. He's the only person so far ule nimesikia amepata pay, and I'm sure someone did a clerical error hapo. That's why he was able to get money. Otherwise, all these people, commonly check interview ya Duncan Chege was saying that all these guys are put in the front line just to die. There's nothing ile inakuwaga pale utaenda usurvive, inakuwaga unaenda kudedi. Then kutoka hapo kulikuwa na msee fulani hapo pia ile kusemekania former police inspector, alikuwa inspector general in the GSU. Ye alienda Russia, alikuwa amedanganywa that atabaki amework kama security guard. Then inasemekana he went to Russia without realizing he was being recruited into the army. He sent an email to his sister asking her to download a secure app so that they could speak because he was in hiding. She never heard from him again. So kuna hiyo. And so ukicheki hizi stories zote, one of the things utacheki ni kitu kwa ina happen. It's easier to convince soldiers. So soldiers were being convinced. It's easier to convince cops. They were being convinced, especially if they're told they're just going to be security guards and they're going to this first world country. They're going to be paid 300,000 shillings. Ama inasemekana ni $2,650 dollars. If you don't know that in Russia, the average Russian earns 120,000 Kenyan shillings, you'll take that chance. But if you know that, you'll know it's nonsense. There's no way they're going to pay you as a black person that amount of money while they pay their own less. The only thing that Russia inaduna history yote ni inatafuta wasiwa kwenda kudedi wale si wao. So ukichekijua hii red zone, kama ulisikia Duncan Chege kunasema kuna pale wako naambia watembee ndio zile mines ziko hapo zilipuke ziwadedishe, ndio wase wa Russia wajue au kulikuwa na mine pale, kulikuwa na what and it's easier kututumia. Saizi Kenya ukicheki, I think inasemekana like so far how many people have gone. It's like over 1,400 maybe. Yes, I think it's like over 1,400 people wamekuwa recruited, and out of these 1,400 citizens from 36 African countries, the majority I'd say are from Kenya. You know why? Because even the president is on the front line asking us to go work in foreign countries. You have the CS wa labor yuko kwa front line taking photos and saying, you know what, Kenyans are going to Russia. So what's going to happen to that average Kenyan ule yuko huko chini, ule hajui that Russia ni a hellhole, atataka kuishia, alafu akiishia na dedi, akidedi mili zinabaki huko. Unachikio like mtu amekufa, wanaambiwa that mkitaka body yake tuchoteeni, body yake iko Rostov, Russia. So unafaa kupanda. Now try to imagine who's supposed to go to Russia kuchukua hii mwili. If a brother goes, atashikwa, arushwe kwa military, apelekwe kwa front line. Nachiki hapo kuna msee fulani inasemekana that alikuwa amevunjika miguu, alafu so after kuvunjika miguu akasema that I want to go home since I'm injured. Akaambiwa you're still under contract. Yes, that's the sort of thing that's happening. And wase wanaambiwa hapo, like some of the things ile nilisoma kwa hiyo article, wase walikuwa wanaambiwa like we are going to work you like your machines, and yes, but wase ni expendable. And kuna wase wanasema, kuna msee mmoja nichekia yuko huyo msee alisema pia wazungu wanakufa. Yes, wazungu wanaiko kwa front line ni Russian criminals. When you're talking about Kenyans, you're talking about Kenyan citizens, Kenyan people who wanted to earn an honest living. And because they trusted their government and they didn't think that the government can actually be involved in human trafficking. Because this is what's happening. This is human trafficking. If you move people from one place to another under false pretense, that's human trafficking. If you move people to places and in those places they are not allowed to quit their jobs, that's human trafficking. And this is scary because if you had to ask me right now, I'd say even the president is involved. And why am I saying the president is involved? Because if I have this information, if by May, Mimi, as some random podcaster in Kenya knew that there's something fishy about Russia, you want to tell me the president, who knows the price and when the next Stefano Ricci line inatokea, that guy does not know that Kenyans are being taken to war? Majua. And all these Kenyans are getting all these wounds. Alafu anarudi. Nakukanania lirudi hapo. Still shell-shocked. I even tried to reach him on Tuesday. I was not able to reach him the whole day. Because anasema hata akisikia pikipiki, hiyo inamshtua. I think maybe that's one of the things that we didn't talk about. Like if you are someone who can offer therapy, whatever to him, just reach out to me. Alafu I'll try and reach out to him. And hopefully I'll be able to get him. But yes, in the story, how sad it is to live in a third world country and how the country that you are born in, Najua, is one of the first luck that you'll ever get. Because if you're born in a country where people value money so much, kuna umse wa hii agency, because kuna ile agency nani aliniambia juu yake, Duncan Chege aliniambia juu ya agency iko Afya Center. I think wasa wanajua sura yangu, but kama unakuaga hiyo area Afya Center, can you just go and check hiyo agency kwa inawaka na kwanza baki umerecord chini ya maji alafu tujue. I'm still trying to reach him mwenyewe niambie the exact name of the agency. But tunachiki kwa hii story kuna mse fulani, I think kwa anaitwa ni Festus Omwamba. And this Festus Omwamba character, he's been in the front line recruiting wase, and apparently he was wanted hapa Kenya. Kuna mse alishikwa stories za human trafficking, wale wase alishikwa alikuwa na prepare wa kwenda Russia. Remember that story being dismissed as fake news? Na cheki, because Kenya inakuwa interesting sana, especially the woke Kenyans. Hizo raya waga zinani woody, like hizo raya waga ziko too woke. Hizo raya zinamkaga asubuhi ziko American propaganda, British propaganda. Ko like Sadan Kanchege, you know what to do with America and Britain. This is just a Kenyan who trusted his government. Because according to me, if you were to ask me, this is about trusting the government. This is about, and you can't blame the average Kenyan for trusting the government. You'll have some of us who will always look at the government like, I don't trust you. But the average Kenyan will always trust the government. So you have this situation whereby people don't have jobs. And since people don't have jobs, they're ready. Alafu kitu iko na udhi ni, I think saizi kuna like a WhatsApp group inasemekana iko na nearly 100 families of missing Kenyans. And these guys have tried to reach out to the Kenyan embassy. And the Kenyan ambassador wa Russia amekuwa akiambia hana jurisdiction ya kwenda around Russia at looking for bodies in mortuaries. That's what the Kenyan ambassador said. Najua. And of course the few who've been able to make it wamerudi. Kuna wale wako na PTSD. Najua. Ni post-traumatic stress disorder. Something that happens to people who've been to war. Other people can use their name shell-shocked. So kuna ase itabidi wa deal na hizo. Na Kazi Majuu inakuwaga so serious that kuna wase stay on medication for the rest of their nini. Kuna wase end up even wakienda homeless because inasemekanaga no human should be able to see that level of death. Try and imagine umetoka Kenya. You didn't know, most probably kwa umetolewa Ocha, haujui hata kuna drones na drones zinaweza kuattack. Umepelekwa because someone looks at the color of your skin and feels like you're an animal and looks at your leaders and your leaders act like animals. Why? Because they just want to primitive accumulation of wealth. You see, like the same way if an animal goes somewhere and finds food, itakula tu, itajali juu ya any other animal. Fun enough, animals even worry more about their fellow animals than anything, but that's a story for another day. So you have that where wanadharau your leadership and wanajua your leadership can't do shit, so of course they're going to lie to people. And kuna one thing ile nilisikia, nilicheki msali baki amepost, I don't know how true this is, but the last thing that niliona msali amepost juu hii story ilikuwa ni one of the soldiers that I talked about kitambo, like on Iko Nini, when the video came out. Walikuwa nasema that he's back, and apart from him being back, of course yuko wounded, and umse alikuwa naitwa nani jo, naitwa Peter Jenga. I remember when this video came out, I also received backlash because I talked about it and I said these guys are not here because they want to be. Enda tu angalie videos za Kenyans in the US and UK military. Wana vile nakagapo kama models. Wanafanya mpaka kama challenges za ngoma za Kenya. Does this person look to you like he's ready to do a Kenyan music challenge? Wacha tucheki.
Gitahi Peter Jenga, Kenya.
So huyo Gitahi Peter Jenga, inasemekana that somehow he was able to survive, but he survived with injuries. Ilikuwa ni nini? What had been said about him? Inasemekana kale alirudi but mkono yake moja haiwaka vipoa. Nacheki. So that's what had been written by some guy anajita the real Kang'ethe. And I don't know, man. So this is what happens when you have a very incompetent government that decides that, you know what, we are going to send Kenyans to war. And we are going to pretend that we don't know that these Kenyans are being fooled and they're being lied to, that they are going to participate in something that they are not going to participate in. And if you read your Washington Post article, of course you can read it through two eyes. When I read through the eyes of the victims, wale washa survive wamekuja Kenya, unaweza kuwa woke pia ubaki umeangalia useme this is American propaganda. Russia inapenda wa Afrika kabisa. Unajua hata Russia alitengenezaga ile hospital iko Nyanza, inaitwa Russia General, ndio alitengeneza, wanatupenda kabisa. Hatuchuki. So, but can I even blame Russia for this? I actually can't blame Russia. If you were to ask me, the biggest culprits, number one, CS for labor. Yes, Alfred Mutua. Why? Kumbuka majuzi nilikuwa na watu wakisema the way Kazi Majuu is a fraud. And kuna hiyo agency inaitwa Zawadi imenyorosha watu kabisa. Nothing has happened. Then afterwards, now tumecheki Russia. He was there posting photos. Oh, the first batch of watu wanapelekwa Russia. So the first person to blame would be the CS. Yes, Alfred Mutua. That's the first person to blame. Why? Because these Kenyans trust him. And these Kenyans took these jobs. Because what's the nonsense that he'd said? Alikuwa amesema kitu kama, oh, these people are going for jobs to work in supermarkets. Why the would Russia expect you to go work in a supermarket? And I'm sorry, but I understand the average Kenyan. Somewhere who thinks that there are jobs in Russia. But anyone who understands the concept of Eastern Europe inakuwaga a shithole, ni shithole. Eastern Europe, Russia iko the same time zone na sisi. Of course, Russia has like 12 time zones, but now Moscow iko na same time zone na sisi. Hizi ma countries go hapo around, akina Montenegro, akina Romania, akina what? Mongolia, whatever, is it Mongolia? I don't know. Hizo Moldova. Hizo countries ni countries za tagulok, ni countries za shida. Those people from those countries will actually go to Russia to look for hizo jobs za kwa supermarket. Kwa supermarket. Russia does not need you as a driver. Kuna hawa wa Moldova and all those countries, kina Czech Republic. What else? Russia does not need you as a supermarket attendant. Does not need you as a security guard. Usidanganyike. The only time Russia is a kuitaji ni kama una go for those really top jobs. And I wouldn't say even as an engineer you're going to work for the Russian whatever. The only kitu za kupeleka ni, let's say, an American company iko na branch huko, ama even a British company or a German company or what, iko na branch pale Russia, na wenyewe ndio wamekupeleka and you know them, you're not going. But if you're going for any of these to so-called menial jobs, those bullshit jobs, you need to understand Eastern Europe. And Eastern Europe is poor. The only reason why haudharau Eastern Europe is the fact that they have a different skin tone yako. And of course, as much as they are poor, they are not as corrupt as Sisi. So their leaders are not there looting everything. But the countries themselves are super poor. And there is no job for you in Russia ya kuosha choo. Kuna watu wa Moldova, kuna watu wa hizi countries funny Romania who can do those jobs. But if I know this information, you think Alfred Mutua doesn't know? Of course he knows. Does he care? He doesn't. Does Ruto care? No, they don't. So Mi hizi rants zangu zinakuaga tu za maybe, just maybe someone can see this and there's a relative of them who's just about to go to Russia and they can be able to convince them that ule fala anaitwa Mwafrika amesema usiende, kuzikienda most probably hautarudi. Iko Nini. Najua mwaka ni mpya lakini injili ni ile ile LemFi. So kama uko US, uko UK, uko Canada ama uko the UAE na unatry kutuma do Kenya, baki umechangamka, ingia LemFi, utabaki umepata the most competitive rates. Lakini apart from that, on your first transaction ya $100 or more, utapata $20 sign up reward. So unangoja nini? Baki umechangamka, chap chap, ingia LemFi. LemFi, international payments for everyone. Iko Nini.